Hi guys, welcome back to Drama. Hope you guys are all doing well. This week I wanted to start off with just a brief recap of the previous vocal warm-ups we've done in the last couple of weeks. So we started off with the breath control and tongue twisters, and then last week we worked a wee bit just on the resonation scale. I want to just recap that really quickly, maybe alter the exercises slightly just so you guys can progressively move forward working on these things. So in week 1 we worked on breath control. That was when we breathed in for 3 seconds, held for 3 seconds, and then hissed out for 9, then 12, then 15, and so on. And this week I want you to do something very similar. However, it's slightly different. We're not going to hiss this week. So I want you to again breathe in for 3 and hold for 3. The reason why we hold for 3 is that's the moment that we're actually expanding our lung capacity. So this week I want you to breathe in for 3, hold for 3, and then start to count, okay? Now you're going to count it at a gradual pace. I'll set the pace. I'll only count up to 10 because I don't want to spend this entire video just counting. So, and just go up until you're short of breath and stop. Don't force out any numbers like 24, 26 and like run out of air, okay? It's not a competition. It's just to help you expand your lung capacity and control how much air you're letting out, and to prepare you for if you're eventually back on stage performing, then you'll be ready to take control of the stage. So you're going to breathe in for 3, hold for 3, and then start counting, and I'll do it as well. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on, okay? Now, it's very basic stuff, however, it will help you to prepare you for getting on stage, okay? Then, moving on from that, last week we worked on the resonation scale. That was the ma, me, ma, mo, mu, mo, ma. Now, some of you still might not like doing this, and some of you may have already memorized it. However, I want you to, again, work on that this week. It's to help with your 3 main resonators. Your 3 main resonators are your throat, mouth, and nose. These are the things that take the oxygen as it's coming out of your mouth and make sound. That's why when you hold your nose and you make a funnier voice, that's because you're losing the output of oxygen from one of your main resonators, okay? So this week I want you, again, I'm not going to go through all of this because it can take some time, so pause the video, go through the alphabet and change the starting letter for each time you go down. So start at A, E, I, E, A, O, U, O, A, Ba, Be, Bi, Be, Ba, Bo, Bu, Bo, Ba, Ka, Ke, Ki, Ke, Ka, Ko, Ku, Ko, Ka, and so on, okay? Some letters can be a wee bit more challenging than others, like E. E can I, A, I, E, I, E, A, E, O, U, I, O, I. Can be a wee bit funny, can sound a bit daft, however, it will help you, again, preparing you to get back on stage whenever we can, okay? And then moving on again, was to work the articulators. We done tongue twisters, and tongue twisters is fairly basic. However, the articulators are your tongue, teeth, lips, and your hard and soft palate. Now, the hard and soft palate you can actually feel with your tongue on the roof of your mouth. The soft is around the ridge of your teeth. You can feel it quite soft, just where the gums are. And the further back you go, the harder it feels. And again, we'll just do some tongue twisters just to warm up your articulators. So we'll start with, to begin to toboggan, first buy a toboggan, but don't buy too big a toboggan. Too big a toboggan is not a toboggan, to buy to begin to toboggan. Clearly I need to work on my tongue twisters a wee bit more. But you'll actually notice, going back to identifying what articulator works what, the letter T works the tongue a bit more. So when you are doing the toboggan tongue twister, you're exercising your tongue a wee bit more. And the same for she sells seashells on the seashore. The sound she works your teeth, okay? So it prepares your entire mouth for whatever dialogue you have to work on when you are, once again, performing when we can. Now, this week, following on from last week, I want to briefly talk about monologues. Now, some of you will have worked on monologues before. Some of you might be hearing that word for the first time. A monologue is simply, to put it simply, it's a short speech from one character. Now, it could be a thought in which he's talking directly to the audience, or it could be in the middle of a conversation with another character. Now, a monologue isn't too long, so don't worry. It's just a short extract from a scene. It's usually just a few short paragraphs put together, and that's how you guys should work on learning them. I will have attached a few monologues for this, in which I'd like you guys to try and learn and perform. So have a read through a few of them, even if it's just a skim read, and just see what ones you would like to familiarise yourself with. Monologues are one of the most important things for any person trying to get into performance, because if you're ever asked to do an audition, you'll probably be asked to prepare a monologue that is relevant to the character you are auditioning for. So the first part you want to focus on is, of course, learning the lines themselves. Now, everyone has their own method of learning lines. Some people find it easier to learn lines if it's on a different coloured paper. That's why a lot of people tend to highlight their lines as well. However, all I can really recommend is take your time with it, break it into segments, and just learn it piece by piece, and then in the end, put it all together, and you should get the hang of it fairly quickly. Moving on from that, I want you to try and think about how you're going to deliver it each time. Now, acting and performance is very much reactive, and they always say acting is reactive, and that's why no two performances should ever be the same. Despite the dialogue being the same, despite the script not changing, if one thing is slightly different, you have to alter how you react to that thing. If someone says hi in a pleasant way, you'll react in a pleasant way and say hi back. If someone says hi in not so nice way, you might react somewhat intimidated. It's up to you at that point, okay? And the same applies to a monologue. Even though you're performing this yourself, if you yourself start off in a happy tone, you might follow it through with a happy tone. If you yourself start off in a sad tone, take the beats, take pauses throughout, and it will look appropriate to the context of what you're talking about. Obviously, if your monologue is talking to a dog and it's quite a nice wee dog and you're having a good time, don't say that script unhappily. So consider any character notes that you might have, okay? So if they're from a certain area or they have an accent, take that into consideration. Take their emotional place during this monologue into consideration when you're coming up with your adaptation of the script, okay? Now, to help your performance, what can help is to film yourself back. So if you've got an iPhone, balance it on something and just go through the lines. Film yourself rehearsing it, not necessarily your final product, but film the rehearsal process and just watch it back. Now, some of you this might be the first time you've ever had to watch yourself back filming, so it might seem a wee bit awkward. Don't worry about that. Just try and don't criticise yourself too much, but positively look at it and try and work out what you would change to improve it. It's all about just developing. It's a developing process, okay? If you don't have a phone, go line for line in a mirror, okay? I know, again, it can be quite tricky to look yourself in the eyes in a mirror and go through lines, but it's all part of a process and it's all part of developing your performance experience, okay? Help with your performance, try and develop a character's backstory that isn't necessarily in the script originally, okay? So you do tend to find at the beginning of a script and these monologues, there'll be a brief character breakdown. I want you to try and further that with your imagination, of course. So a great exercise to help with this is called hot seating. So if you can have someone help you out and ask you basic personal questions. So it could be, where are you from? How old are you? Are you in a relationship? Things like that. It can be very basic questions. However, what the whole point of the exercise is, you're answering the questions as the character, okay? So it's moved on slightly from just doing the monologue. It's you developing an understanding of how you want to approach this character, okay? It also improves your improvisation skills, okay? And lastly, I'd like you to take this opportunity throughout the next week to just observe other character traits of people you might see. It could be a teacher at school, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a random person you see on the street. Just try and acknowledge different traits these people might have and develop a character, okay? And then try and work out a way that you can incorporate this new character that you've developed into the scripts that you worked on from week 1 and 2, okay? As I maybe briefly mentioned last week, by the end of this, I want you guys to potentially create a short film of the script that you've been working on, and this is just another way to incorporate a character with a wee bit more depth into it. So maybe it's a detective scene and you're acknowledging characters that have a mysterious personality, or you could be developing the detective itself. It's up to you. So I hope you guys are all good. I hope you're all staying safe and keeping well and just having a good time. Thanks again. I'll see you next week. Bye.